Hello, this is MrChabry, and it's time for another challenge. This time we're doing the fighting type challenge. Let me introduce you to our fighting type gym leader for this challenge. It's in this challenge that we meet Bruno Jr., the son of the Elite Four fighting type master. The rival for Bruno Jr. is Lance's son, Lance Jr. Bruno Jr.'s main goal is to prove that fighting type Pokemon have a place within Kanto's gym leader structure. We pick Bulbasaur as our starter, not because we're actually going to use this thing very much, but because our rival will pick Charizard as his final starter, and that's going to have huge implications for his entire team. Charizard having Flying type, he's also going to have Gyarados, Executor, Pidgeot, and Alakazam. Really powerful Pokemon that fighting type struggle. So we're really creating a challenge for us later on in this game. And not only that, Charizard being on Lance's Jr.'s team actually makes the most sense. Now if we were playing Pokemon Yellow, we would already have access to a fighting type Pokemon in Mankey. But the unfortunate thing is, in Pokemon Red, we don't get access to our first fighting type Pokemon until after we've been through Cerulean City. So we've got a little bit of time where we're going to have to use Bulbasaur until we can get that beautiful Mankey. After we've made it to Cerulean City and our Bulbasaur has evolved into Ivysaur, we're going to face Lance Jr. And this should be the last time we battle with mainly using our Ivysaur, because after we defeat our rival and we do some things up in Bill's house, we can finally head south of Cerulean City to find our very own Mankey. Another thing I do at this time is I decide to trade a Spearow for a Farfetch'd, because this Farfetch'd is going to be much better at using Cut and Fly, two of the HMs that I really do need throughout the playthrough. And once we've reached the SS and we get our first battle here with our Mankey. So we've been training up Mankey, and I'm hoping that Mankey can finish this rival battle off. We see that it takes out the Pidgeot, the Eradicate, it takes out the Kadabra. The unfortunate thing is it's not going to take out the Charmeleon. Now at this point I try everything to make it where Dux does not attack, but since this is a traded Pokemon, instead of doing what I told it to, it's going to attack. So unfortunately we lose some experience because of our traded Pokemon here. But even with that unfortunate turn of events, we are able to get Mankey leveled up enough to evolve it into Primeape. And this is going to be very helpful because now we are going to take on Misty. And now it's time for us to take on the second gym leader. Primeape just cuts right through Staryu, and then Starmie comes out, and it ends up taking 2 hits, even with the X-Defend usage there. Misty not really even getting a chance to fight back against our Primeape. And immediately after, we catch our second Pokemon for our team, that being Machop. By hour 7, Bruno Jr. has made it to Saffron City. Now, Saffron City at one time had a fighting type gym leader, but Sabrina had bested that gym leader in combat, making her the current gym leader. So what Bruno Jr. has to do is he needs to train up with these fighting type specialists. He's going to do that with one of the biggest 80s tropes, a montage. Now that we have defeated the Black Belt will let us choose one of these two Pokemon, one being Hitmonlee, the other being Hitmonchan. Now the thing is, normally when I do these playthroughs, I just use the Pokemon that are available. However, with the fighting type challenge, that would only give us a total of 4 Pokemon on our team at the end. So I'm going to make an exception here. Usually I don't trade from any other Pokemon save file to fill out the team, but what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to use trading to give us both Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. Not only that, trading allows us to finally get our Machoke to fully evolve into its final form, that being Machamp. And really, that's the only way we can get Machamp in this playthrough. And with that, our team is mostly put together. However, there is one more Pokemon that we're going to add to our team. If you would, go ahead and put in the comments right now, which Pokemon do you think is going to be the last one we add to our fighting type team? Before we can add that Pokemon to our team, there's a few things that we need to do. One of those things is fighting the grass type gym leader. I lead off with Machamp, and unfortunately it's poison from a previous battle. However, 2 Razor Leafs are going to finish it off, and that's very unfortunate. I wanted to get some more experience on my Machamp. I go into Hitmonlee, and unfortunately, 1 Razor Leaf ends up being enough on that. Hitmonchan comes out, finishes off that Victory Bell, and Tangela comes out. I go into Primate. Primate seems to be my hardest hitter, and luckily that bind misses, meaning we get a free knockout on the Tangela. Last up is Vileplume, and I go into Hitmonchan to get some chip damage onto this Vileplume, but you can see it's not doing much at all. So I'm just going to let it go down, let Primate come out, and Primate's able to knock this thing out with 2 Karate Chops. Bruno Jr. also makes his way through the Rocket Hideout, and since Giovanni is leading off with Onix, the Machamp can easily knock that thing out. Rhyhorn, same situation. It's weak to fighting type moves, and Machamp has Low Kick as a great choice. Kangaskhan also weak to the Low Kick, and we knock it out pretty easily. We make our way to Pokemon Tower. This is where we find Lance Jr. sitting around doing some training. It's time for him to see where our Pokemon are at this point. Hitmonlee takes out the Pidgeotto pretty easily, and Execute comes out. Now this thing is part Psychic, so I am nervous about that, but at this point it doesn't really have any Psychic type moves. So 2 Karate Chops takes it out. Unfortunately, we did take a little snooze in there, but that's fine. Primate's able to wake up and fix things. Gyarados comes out, and I have Rock Slide on Machamp specifically for some of these flying types. Kadabra comes back out, and this time Primate comes out because it is faster, it hits first. Charmeleon is out, and I do have Dig on my Primate, which does perfectly fine. It is at this point we are finally able to get our last Pokemon for our team. So you might be thinking, Poliwhirl, that's pure water. However, you catch this thing, you expose it to a Water Stone, and then you have a water fighting type in Poliwrath. So if you said Poliwrath down in the comments, congratulations, you knew what our last Pokemon was going to be. It is around 12 hours into the game when we finally make our way to face Koga. Now we do have Primeape here, and it still has Dig, and that's my main tactic here. Go for Dig to do some big heavy damage. It doesn't quite one-shot the Coughing, but we do knock it out. Muck, it takes about 2 hits. Coughing comes out, and we've already seen that 1's not going to be enough, so I just throw in some Mega Kicks for good measure. Next up is Weezing. Now I know this thing likes to self-destruct, so I'm hoping that it will do that while I'm underground, but it actually survives with a sliver of health and then goes kablooey. But I'm fine with that because that still gives me the victory. And now we make our way to Saffron City once again, this time to face down our rival Lance Jr., who is for some reason hanging out with Team Rocket. I don't know, I'm not going to ask questions. Machamp here goes and throws some rocks at the bird. Execute comes out, and it sets up a Reflect, which is kind of annoying, but it's not going to be enough to help it survive, so we knock it out. Next up is Gyarados, and I decide I'm going to throw some rocks at it too, because being part flying type, it's weak to Rock Slide. We knock that thing out, and then Alakazam comes out. Now, Alakazam is very fast, and it hits very hard. So my main tactic with this thing is to have Primate come out and hopefully outspeed it, and it ends up doing that. Charizard here, I go into Poliwrath to throw some Surfs at this thing. Now, Rock Slide would be very good here, but the unfortunate thing is our Rock Slider has been knocked out, but Hitmonlee can come in and finish up the job. Now it's time for us to face Giovanni once again, and even though he doesn't have all his Pokemon that were weak to fighting, as he did in the last battle, we still should be in good position. Now, Nidorino here takes a hit pretty well from our Poliwrath, which means I need to go into Primeape so I can dig and destroy this thing. Kangaskhan comes out, and this thing is weak to fighting. I go back into Machamp. My main thing is I want to get some experience on Poliwrath, and we miss the low kick, which is actually really annoying. Machamp here going down where it really shouldn't have went down. Hitmonlee comes out, and we do miss a turn, which ends up costing us some HP, but we're still able to knock it out. Rhyhorn here, it doesn't take Surf, so just skip that. And we'll go into Nidoqueen. Now, Nidoqueen can take hits way better than Rhyhorn, so it's going to take about 3 Surfs to take it out. Luckily, Giovanni doesn't really go on the offensive, so we get some free experience there. At this point, I realize that I have actually skipped Lieutenant Surge, and I can't really fly without getting that 3rd gym badge. So I'll go back, and I'm actually going to use Poliwrath to stomp all of Lieutenant Surge's Pokemon into the dirt. Poliwrath, of course, being weak to electric, it don't matter. Poliwrath smacks around some of these mice, and that's pretty much it. After gaining the ability to fly, it should be easier to get around on the map now, using ducks. We go into Blaine's gym with our Poliwrath, and that's because Surf can make quick work of some of these Pokemon, Growlithe and Ponyta, going down to 1 Surf. Rapidash, however, has a little bit more bulk, so it's not going to go down as easily, and we get hit with a Stomp, but luckily we don't flinch, so we are able to knock that out. Arcanine here has really high bulk, so I'm actually surprised that we're able to do what we're able to do, because he wastes a turn of Roar, giving us the badge. Now it's time to face Sabrina, the Saffron City Gym. Not only does defeating Sabrina here give us the moral victory of showing that fighting can defeat Psychic, but it also brings the fighting type back into the gym leader of Saffron City. We go ahead with our Machamp, and we get a nice Earthquake on the Kadabra. However, we did take a lot of damage, which is unfortunate. Mr. Mime here sets up some screens, and that's enough to make it where it survives some of these hits, and that's unfortunate. I go into Primeape here, because Primeape is pretty fast and it hits really hard, so I'm still thinking it's my best option. Venomoth, however, is unfortunate because Machamp would be great against it. And we missed the Mega Kick, which I think cost us that Primeape. I go into Hitmonlee, finish that off, and then Alakazam comes out, sets up a Reflect, and we miss the first Mega Kick. That's very unfortunate. We would have hit that thing twice, and it would only have a 1/3 of health. However, this thing is able to just do a lot of damage to us, and you can see that it having a 1/3 of health would have been enough for us to knock it out. Let's just skip Ducks here. Ducks actually listens this time. We're going to go back into this battle. I'm going to change tactics. I'm going to lead off with Primeape because it is my fastest Mon. I need to outspeed some of these Psychic types. And we get a first turn knockout, and we get a 1-hit KO on the Mr. Mime. So things are looking a lot better. Machamp's able to come in and hit Venomoth with some rocks, and then Alakazam comes out. Now, my tactic here is just try to outspeed it. Luckily, he sets up a Reflect instead of attacking us, and that gives us the 3-hit KO. Nice. We're able to defeat Sabrina, giving us the place of Gym Leader. However, we're not ready to just accept that and retire. We're going to continue on showing that fighting types have a place here in Kanto. And we're going to do that by taking on Giovanni. Now, Hitmonchan, even though it has the advantage, it still gets knocked out by Rhyhorn. That's very unfortunate. But Hitmonlee is able to come in and finish this thing off. Dugtrio comes out, and unfortunately, Mega Kick's going to miss because of all those sand attacks that we got hit in the face with. But don't worry, a Surf will do what is needed. Nidoqueen comes out. We go ahead and Surf that, and you can see that it's going to be a 2-hit KO. We finish it off with Psychic. Nidoking comes out. Surf is super effective, and we do have Stab, so it's better than clicking Psychic there. It takes 2 of those. Next up is Rhydon. Hey, Rhydon is quad weak to Surf, not even a chance. Now we are ready to take on Lance Jr. right before we make our way to the Indigo League. And I am nervous about his team because you're going to see he's got a Pokemon that is a hard counter to our Pokemon. Machamp here takes 2 Rock Slides. Unfortunately, the Pidgeot is able to do some damage to our Machamp. Poliwrath here, hey, Rhyhorn is quad weak to Surf. It's gone. Next up is Execute, and of course you would think that I would be more worried about this, but I'm not as worried about it. So we take it out with Ice Beam. Primate comes out. I do have Thunderbolt on Primate now, and its main job is to deal with Gyarados. However, we don't quite knock it out, and we have to clean up with Machamp. Now we're going to see the Pokemon that I'm most afraid of. This thing is fast, and it hits hard with Psychic. It's going to knock out Hitmonlee. Hitmonchan comes out. I'm hoping to do some good damage. We missed the Mega Kick like 3 times in a row. That's unfortunate. We don't even get to see how much damage that normally would have done. And then we go down to a Psychic with our Poliwrath. And I throw off an Earthquake, but it's too little, too late. And now we jump back into another attempt. This time, I'm hoping that if we can handle the Alakazam, we're going to be in a better position. So let's go ahead and throw some rocks at the bird. We're going to go into Poliwrath to finish off Rhyhorn. Make it easy, make it quick, not even a problem. And then we're going to see Execute come out. I do have Ice Beam for this thing, which does really well. It does have Solar Beam, but hey, that's a 2-turn move. I don't worry about that too much. And this time, instead of going Thunderbolt, I want to see is Rock Slide the better option. And it looks to be about a 2-hit KO. So Thunderbolt, Rock Slide, they both do the job. Alakazam comes out. Now, the reason why I wanted to keep Primate healthy is because this is my best option against Alakazam. And you're going to see, even with that, it still knocks me out. I go for a Surf here, hoping to get some chip damage. Unfortunately, we're going to get knocked out with a Psychic. I'm going to go into Ducks just so I can heal up the Machamp and just let Ducks go down, because Machamp is really, I'm thinking, going to be the best case scenario against this guy. Get an Earthquake off, that does the job. Rock Slide, that's going to do the job as well. And by hour 17, we have made it to the Elite Four. So go ahead, put in the comments, who do you think is going to be the toughest challenge here in the Elite Four? Is it going to be Lorelei and her Ice-type Pokemon? Is it going to be Agatha and her Ghost? Is it going to be a showdown between father and son? Bruno versus Bruno Jr., the toughest challenge? Or is Lance going to be the strongest challenge for Bruno Jr.'s fighting type? Put it in the comments, and we're going to hop into this battle. So Lorelei leads off with her Dugong, and because Psychic is good against fighting, she's going to spam Rest, which is actually unfortunate because we were about to knock this thing out. We end up using a few more low kicks than we really need to. Next up is Cloyster. I do have Primate here with Thunderbolt. Cloyster has terrible special, so we just take the 2-hit KO on it. Cloyster does have good defense, and I didn't want to rely too much on fighting type moves there. Slowbro comes out. It immediately goes for Amnesia, which is annoying because I was hoping that a Thunderbolt would be what I needed. And the unfortunate thing is I keep missing Mega Kick, so it just keeps setting up. Jinx comes out. It hits me with a Body Slam. I'm able to strength it into Oblivion. It takes 2 of those. Luckily, I don't get paralyzed. And then Lapras comes out. Now, I'm going to go ahead and switch into Machamp. I think Machamp is probably my best option here. However, it takes those hits, unfortunately, really bad, and then it's not able to do anything after paralysis. Going to Poliwrath here, because it resists pretty much anything Lapras has, and it goes for Confuse Ray just to be annoying, but Poliwrath still pulls it off. Bruno Jr. now enters the room of his father. After having second thoughts, is he ready for this battle? His father says, "Don't run away. It's time, son. It's time for us to have the showdown that you have been building for. Can you defeat the master?" Let's find out. Now, Bruno Jr. has an advantage over his own father. His father, for some reason, employs 2 Onyxes. Bruno Jr. doesn't even know why. Those aren't fighting types. So Poliwrath knocks out the first one. Hitmonchan here tries to go for a Thunder Punch, but it does hardly anything because it has terrible special. Hitmonlee finishes off the Poliwrath, unfortunately. And then Machamp comes out to throw some low kicks. So we see some kicks in the air. Unfortunately, the Kicking Master is better at kicking. But the Primate comes out and finishes off the job. Onix comes back out. And we go back into Hitmonlee, this time just to get some rolling kicks. The Onix is just going to waste time trying to set up its defense and then go for Rage. Rage is one of the worst moves in Generation 1. It's really low power, and once you click it, you're just stuck with it. So it's a garbage move. If you have Rage on your team, just do yourself a favor, get rid of it. Jump Kick is on Hitmonlee now, but that's okay. We got Machamp here, and I'd go for Body Slam just to get the paralysis, and then it hits us with a submission. We go for Mega Kick, and we miss 2 Mega Kicks, but then we finally hit the 3rd, and then a Strength just for the accuracy. And at this point, Bruno is so proud of his son. He's taking the fighting type, the type that people see as weak in Kanto, and he's bringing it into the limelight. Now, Agatha is an Elite Four member that I'm actually nervous about because of her poison types resisting my moves, plus she has ghost types. A lot of my Pokemon rely on either normal or fighting type moves. I go for Psychic on the Gengar. That's my only option to get good damage as she switches into Golbat. She confuses Poliwrath, which is annoying, but we're able to continuously do some damage, and then she sends out Gengar. We don't quite knock it out because she's using Super Potions at this point, and then she puts Poliwrath to sleep. I'm going to go into Primeape here, and we're going to be put to sleep too. And it becomes just trying to stay awake. We dig a hole, and then we hit Gengar. Dig, probably my best option when it comes to facing these Gengars. The Golbat comes out, and we just go for Strength to finish it off. Haunter is out, and we dig, knocking it out with 1 hit. And now Arbok comes out. Now, Arbok I am nervous about. I'm trying to go for counter here because I'm thinking that maybe I can get a good hit on it, but when we do get hit with a physical move, we actually miss counter, so that didn't even pan out. Machamp comes out, and I go for Earthquake because that should do some good damage, and it's not quite enough for a 1-hit KO, but it takes about 2. Arbok comes out and goes for a Screech. We hit this thing with an Earthquake, knocking it out, securing the victory. Now we make our way to face our rival's father, that being Lance. Now, Lance is very proud of his son. He's shocked that we made it this far, but we're here and we're ready to face down our rival's father, Lance Sr. Thunderbolt into the Gyarados. It doesn't quite knock it out, and neither does the Rock Slide that's meant to clean things up. So it takes a few of those. Dragonair comes out. We have Ice Beam specifically for these dragon types, and it takes about 3 of them. Luckily, because of AI, it just spams agility, and so does the second Dragonair, so we do get an easy knockout on these 2 dragons. Next up is Aerodactyl. Now, I am nervous about Aerodactyl. We're going to go for Rock Slide, as it misses a Hyper Beam, which would have probably knocked us out. We're lucky with that. Rock Slide finishing it off, and then Dragonite's back out, and it's just going to spam its agility and barrier. Ice Beam just doing really good work, and we just finish it off with a Surf. And with that, there's only one more challenge for us. So Lance Sr. tells us that his own son has even been able to best him. So his son is not going to be a pushover in this next challenge, so we better bring our A game. Now we make our way to our rival Lance Jr., who has a team that is super strong against ours. Pidgeot here has Sky Attack, which is super effective against all of our fighting-type Pokemon. I go for Rock Slide, hoping to get the knockout, but unfortunately it survives that, and we don't quite knock it out. It does knock us out. Primeape comes out, and we Thunderbolt it, but it actually survives and then goes for a Thunderbolt for itself. Next up is Alakazam. This thing is fast, hits hard, and it just completely wrecks the rest of my team. After grinding a little bit more, we have better levels, so we've returned. I go for Ice Punch, but Hitmonchan does pretty much nothing. I was hoping for a freeze, honestly. If I could get a freeze, that would be nice. We missed the Rock Slide, which is really annoying, but we are able to hit the next one. And you can see it almost takes it out. Not quite, though. Alakazam comes out. I am nervous about this thing. I'm hoping that we outspeed it, but it's still faster than Primeape. And then I go back into Machamp. It goes for Reflect this time, which is nice. but then it's not so nice the next turn. And it smacks us in the nose with a Psychic. Hitmonlee goes down to a Psychic, and then Poliwrath, it doesn't stand a chance. It goes down to a Psychic as well. And you know, I shouldn't be surprised that this is such a tough battle. I specifically chose Bulbasaur so that way my rival would have the toughest team for us to face. I lead off with Primeape now. I've grinded quite a bit, and I am able to take out the Pidgeot. We see Alakazam set up a Reflect. I'm hoping for a Paralysis, but I don't quite get it, which is unfortunate. Machamp comes out and takes the Psybeam and hits this thing with an Earthquake, finally knocking out the tough thing for us. Rhydon comes out, and we just surf this thing. It's not even a threat. If you've got a Water move or a Grass move, don't even worry about Rhydon. But we do have Executor. Now, Executor is a problem. I'm going to Mega Kick here just to see how much that does. I'm going to play the Flute because I really want to Ice Punch this. See if I get a Freeze, and I don't. And Mega Punch, obviously a better move here. Mega Kick, rather, not Ice Punch. I play the Flute here, trying to keep my Hitmonchan awake, and then we finally take out the Executor. Gyarados comes out. I Thunderbolt this thing with my Primeape. That's the only reason Thunderbolt is on this moveset, and it knocks it out. Last up is Charizard, and I'm going to Hitmonchan so I can get some chip damage with a kick. However, it outspeeds, and it locks me into a Fire Spin. I do have Machamp here who has Rock Slide. However, Charizard ends up being faster and takes us out with some Fire Spins. Primeape here is faster, and I am able to knock it out with a Thunderbolt, finally being able to defeat Bruno Jr. And with that, Bruno Jr. not only has become the Fighting-type gym leader in Saffron, but he has bested the Elite Four, taking on his rival Lance Jr., showing the prowess that Fighting types can have in Generation 1. This was a tough challenge. Lance's Jr.'s team being really well built to face down these Fighting types. I was surprised on how tough some parts of this game was. The Fighting types, there's not that many good Fighting type moves, really, so they mostly rely on normal moves or some type of coverage that they can get, and their special is usually terrible. But I'm surprised on how many of them get some decently good special moves, like Thunderbolt on Primeape, Fire Blast on Machamp, hello? They get some good moves, but they don't have the special to use that. However, they have actually been able to function pretty decently well here on this team. So here we have it, Bruno Jr. finally taking his place at the top of Indigo Plateau. And Bruno Jr. decides to move back to Saffron City so he can take over the new Fighting type gym. If you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in the next Pokemon video.